Okay, Mary, we're back on, and as you can see, for anybody who's seen part one, we ended with me saying, "Oh shit, the light's gone off, we lost Mary." So we set it up to have part two, and here we are, just by fluke, wearing the same clothes. That's just magic.
Yeah, it's spooky, isn't it?
It is. And look, you're matching with your sofa, your throw pillows, your necklace, the Barbara Stanwyck poster.
It's ridiculous. There's 2 red lights over there as well. They're not advertising anything, though. I'd like
Well, I think I got a little bit of orange that could kind of be a little bit matching with you, so...
Isn't that a red curtain behind you?
That's the truth. It is. You're right.
That's cool.
So we were talking about Phil Collins doing "You Can't Hurry Love," and you were saying how safe that was. The song, and because I had talked about your album, a particular album that I just think is an absolute gem. And I was going to say to you yesterday, Doris Day had an album called My Heart, and it was a mix of a lot of stuff that came out later on in her life, and she ended up at the top of the charts when she was 88. Are you in any way like a fan of Doris Day?
Yes, totally. Beautiful voice, great singer. I mean, she, it's that triple threat, isn't it? She could dance and she could sing and she could act, I think she had a beautiful voice. And I know when she did, I think it was in an interview, I think it was Secret Love. I'm sure it was. And whoever was producing it or did the arrangement or whoever really didn't want her to sing it, because he said, well, she's not really a proper singer because she can't read music. Hey? Paul McCartney can't read music, Danny Elfman can't read music, and he's written blooming film scores, Anyway, so it made her feel very insecure about singing it, But of course, we all know what a fantastic job she did.
Unbelievable.
No, I am a fan. Well, because I covered Perhaps. I did it for a TV show originally, and then it became this big sort of song of mine here, so that when I haven't done it in concert for quite a while, actually, but it's in America, especially because it was used for a TV show called Coupling, and which was shown on BBC America. So I get a lot of downloads from America, So yeah, Doris Day, fantastic. I mean, top of the charts at 88. That's all right, isn't it?
Unreal. And Sarah Vaughan is one of my favourite singers of all time, and I know that you love her. And she said, "What do you think of?" Somebody asked her what you think of Doris Day, and she said, "I dig Doris Day." What a compliment from one of the greatest singers ever. And what you said about not reading music, Bowie didn't read music, Sinatra didn't read music. That's a snob attitude for.
Yeah, it totally is. And I mean, singers. Peggy Lee, who I'm a massive fan of, she had a very quiet voice. And I don't know if you've read, there's a great, what's his name? Gavin, I think his name's Chris Gavin. Who wrote a book about Peggy Lee, which is brilliant, because I read her book. It was rubbish. It was basically, and then I made a cup of tea. I mean, it was so boring. His book was fantastic. And when she first started, and she was playing with Benny Goodman, was it?
I think so.
Her first chance to get up and sing in these clubs, and she was in this supper club, as they were called. I wish they still existed. That's my supper club. I'm playing at a supper club, and she realised that she couldn't compete with people like Sarah Vaughan, who had these powerhouse voices, And I haven't got a particularly loud singing voice either, not really, and so she decided she would just stick to her quiet voice. Because what happened was everyone had to lean in and stop talking and, using their knives and forks. They had to lean in to listen to her. And I thought, oh, how clever is that, because she that's what's so fantastic about it. I mean, one of my favourite songs is The Folks Who Live on the Hill, which will arrangement by Nelson Riddle and conducted by Frank Sinatra. I mean, you can't get better than that.
Exactly. Listen, don't get me started, as I said, on Sinatra, Nelson Riddle, the Great American Songbook. Everybody that's been on the show, we always talk about the Great American Songbook. And you know, as you said in the first part of the interview, they're not easy songs to sing. There's modulations going on within those songs. Like My Funny Valentine you mentioned yesterday. The second half of that, they start off in the harmony. I think it's a third of like, you know, they start My Funny Valentine, by the second time, Your Lips Are Laughable. Genius songwriters. And you mentioned Folks Who Live on the Hill.
Oh, it's an amazing song. I mean, I do sing it quite often. And even when I'm singing it, I get upset because it's so, you know, it's this nirvana that she's singing about that we're all aiming for in a way, aren't we? To live in this house, you know, our veranda will command a view. I mean, what a rhyming couplet that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mary, my wife and I live in a hill. It's not paradise.
No, oh well. It's close to it though, isn't it?
Well, we have a lot of paradise moments. I have a wonderful wife. She's one of the kindest, sweetest, most honest people you meet. Sometimes we want to kill each other, but that's marriage, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I wanted one other thing that you said earlier about, Peggy Lee, her version of Pass Me By. I don't know if you've ever heard that. Pass me by, pass me by, pass me by. She does the first... Right. She does the first half, like you made a really funny comment yesterday. I thought jazz was people who forgot the melody. Brilliant. That's brilliant. But she does it, and she does it straight. And then the band do boom, boom. They swing it, and her phrasing would blow your mind.
Her phrasing is second to none. And I have a vinyl album of hers called Latin a la Lee. And she does a version of Lover. And it's all Latin, and the percussion and the drums, it's insane with her lovely soft, you know, lover when you're near me, da, 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 you know, and there's this madness going on in the background, you know.
You're talking my drug, Mary. This is my drug you're talking. And to hear you singing, I always say that a person singing in a room, you don't need reverb. Do you use reverb in your voice?
Only a tiny bit. Not. I mean, the 80s was Reverb City, wasn't it? But not so much. I mean, when I was doing Ronnie's and places like that, no one really uses any reverb in jazz. But so I think a tiny bit is quite nice, but not to the points of you know, things like what was that awful song? Oh, I shouldn't say that really. What was Jennifer Rush? Because I am your lady. You are dreadful record in my
Mary, I actually liked it.
It sounds like in a cave, you know.
Yeah, the reverb was horrible, but your voice just there singing, that was a treat because you can sing. It just as my parents said when I was 14, oh, she can sing, and she's singing Cry Me a River. Not an easy song, but listen, I'm pushing us into a self-indulgent singer's corner, so let me pull us back out for a minute because I could talk forever about singers. I want to ask you about your name. Your name, Mary Macmillan Ramsey Wilson. Now, that sounded like you should have been either a leading politician, but you're too honest and nice to be, or the queen of some huge kingdom.
Well, I am the Neasden Queen of Soul, but Neasden's a tiny place, so there's not much competition, really. But I am known as the Neasden Queen of Soul. And for those in America who don't know where Neasden is, it's North London, and it's just a tiny place with a few shops. I mean, I don't even know why it's actually got a name, but there you go. But my name, my parents were Scottish, all my family is Scottish. But my dad came down to London when he was 17 looking for work just before the Second World War, and got a job with London Transport, and him and my mum moved down, and so I was born in Neasden to Scottish parents. And one of the things they do in Scotland, or used to do, so Mary is a very Scottish name. I mean, there's a well-known song, you know, All for Mary's Wedding, heel for heel and toe for toe, da 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 da, all for Mary's Wedding. So that's the Mary, very Scottish, although spelt in a very simple way because they felt if they spelt it in the Scottish Gaelic way, no one would ever get it right. But actually, in a way, it would have been better if they did, because if I meet someone at a party, say, and I say, hi, I'm Mary, they go, oh, you mean Marie? Like I don't know my own name. Oh, yeah, sorry. You know, oh, you mean Marie? No. Anyway, so Mary, because it's a bit unusual. So, or they say Mari. No, Mary, rhymes with Harry. So Macmillan Ramsey, Wilson obviously is my father's name. And Macmillan was my father's mother's maiden name, and Ramsey was my mother's maiden name. And that's what, but it sounds posh, doesn't it? If only,
very posh.
And no bathroom. We had a tin bath, so we weren't very posh. But
well, we weren't either. When you said about Macmillan and Ramsey, I think are two names of prime ministers as well. That's why I think it was in my head.
And Wilson, too.
And Wilson as well. Jesus, you are...
Harold Wilson.
Yeah. There was something you said then I was going to bounce off and I can't remember what it was, so I won't waste time. I want to quote you on something you said that I love. I know there are courses at university, but no one taught me about singing. You can either do it or you can't, which I agree with. I do think sometimes with shows like X Factor, it's all about volume. I've been able to hold a note for half an hour, and that's not singing. Listen to Dusty Springfield or Karen Carpenter. They did neither of those things. It's about telling a story or creating a mood and making someone feel something. I love that for many reasons. And when you mentioned X Factor, I made a comment yesterday about Simon Cowell doing to his face what he did to music, completely destroying it, only quicker. I do believe that the last 20 years, there has been a poison put into the well of, as you said yesterday, or should I say in part one of the interview, in pop music. Do you think that we're recovering from that maybe at the moment?
I think, funnily enough, I think that the COVID thing is going to have a really amazing effect on music, because it's usually, a war or something happens, because it has or had become a bit like what pop music was a bit like in the 50s, a bit throwaway doo-woppy. That, although it was all new and everything, it was all a bit, ankle socks and flared skirts and things like that. It was all a little bit throwaway, and only it's got much more massive. I mean, when I started, my brother's also a musician. He's 6 years older than me, so he was already in bands in the 70s. But it was very unusual if that was your job. You didn't meet people that were in bands. It was an unusual career. And it was a vocation, really. And I think when I was at school, say in the 60s, if the teacher had said to the class, what do you all want to be when you grow up? I think maybe one person would have said they wanted to be a musician. The rest would have been astronaut, nurse, doctor, racing driver, that kind of train driver. Kind
pilot.
Of now, I think if you went into a classroom now and said, what do you want to be when you grow up? There would be a lot of them would say famous.
Yes.
Or they want to be a singer, but kind of meaning the same thing. And I think that's what a lot of these shows, it's made it very dangerous, because people, they don't really know what they're wishing for. That whole thing about be careful what you're wishing for. Because fame is not, well, it's, cracked up to be. You've got to be a pretty strong person to cope with it, I think. Look at Amy Winehouse,
yep.
Who really just wanted to be a jazz singer, but she couldn't cope with it, And so I think it's a bit of a shame, but I think, but having said that, there is all that stuff, but there's still great music going on. It's just that they don't really, you have to look for it, it's not so readily available. And of course, because of music becoming more important as a live medium, because it used to be just selling records, and so you would do a tour to advertise your album, but now the album is to advertise your tour, because it's all about playing live. But what COVID has done, now we can't play live. At least we haven't, a year of not being able to do concerts. So I'm wondering if, because people have sort of got more in touch with nature and family and the things that are really important, as opposed to materialistic things, I hope. So I think for those reasons, we may be coming out of it. Maybe people are going to start writing about more important things. And it's a shame that pop music has become about not only fame, but having a ridiculous amount of money, a ridiculous amount, like the Kanyes and the, I mean, I think Beyonce is very talented, don't get me wrong, but her and her husband are worth over $1 billion.
What's that?
Really? Who needs a Beyonce?
Oh, yeah.
Who who needs a billion?
Yeah, it's
really?
look, we as you said about Amy Winehouse, she was a very gentle soul. It seemed like she was so strong in one way, and in the other way she was so fragile. And I look at pictures of you, especially now as a grown up, much older than I was when I first saw you, and I see this look in your eyes, and it's like I get this feeling you might have been a punk, as in a British punk in the late '70s for a while. Are you
I wasn't, because I was too old really to be a
right.
punk. Too old. I was quite an old pop star, really. I wasn't 18 or 20. Right. I was about 26.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, you had this look in your eyes of almost, honestly, like, don't even think about fucking with me. You had that look in your eyes.
Oh, well, that part of my personality, I think I've kind of tamed it somewhat. But I was like that. I was like that at school. My best friend always used to say, well, the first time I saw Mary, she was coming down the corridor, and my friend said, oh, look, here comes Mary Wilson. Oh, it was like, oh my God, was that really my reputation? I think I was a bit cocky, and I was a bit cocky when I became a pop star as well. I have to, because I think that was my defense mechanism, actually, trying to be a bit, don't mess with me kind of thing. But that's what was going on inside. It was a front, really.
Right, but Mary, I don't want you to get me wrong. I love that. I mean, I got 2 daughters, and I raised them to be very powerful women. I'm a feminist, and I'm an unashamed feminist, and women have been through so much shit. Not to get into that too heavy, but they have been. The crap these have gone through in this world and continue to, and we're big into all human rights. Like, you got a pulse and a heartbeat, you deserve 100% rights. And the whole idea of giving rights, hang on a second, what's that giving? What the fuck you doing taking it away? So when I see a woman like that, I think, brilliant. I love to see that. And I see that in your early pictures. And even though you said you were 28, I thought you were 22, I think you're 28 now. But
when I was 22. That was the thing. I think we all lied about our age. But then I thought, as I got older, I thought, if I now say, because I turned 66 in September, if I now say I'm 62, say, and they see me, they're going to go, blimey, she looks rough for 62. But if I tell the truth, they might think I'm 64. So,
right. Well, I'm 52, and I never tell anybody the day of my birthday. I don't celebrate my birthday. I hate all that crazy attention, which people say, well, we're on stage all the time. It's a different type of thing. Like, I was born, so what? Tell my mother she was amazing. But the year I was born was 68. It is what it is. But anyway, I wanted to. We're gonna try to wrap it up and get to the Proust questionnaire. I always pronounce that wrong. And I want to look up Tracy Bennett, and I want to send you a couple of things as well from what we talked about. I got to get that album of Peggy Lee, Lia Latin. What's it called again?
Latin a la Lee. It's called.
Brilliant. I wanted to also compliment Simon Hale on his. He's a great accompanist.
Oh my God. I mean, you wouldn't believe the stuff that he's done. He has become an amazing string arranger. And when we made the album, he wasn't in my band or playing piano anymore. He's done all the Jamiroquai albums. He's done, what's her name? Mary J. Blige. He just did her album a couple of years ago. But he's also done some great musicals. So he did Spring Awakening. He did all the music for that. There's a show called Girl from the North Country, which I think was about to open in New York.
It did.
Which uses all of Bob Dylan songs. He did that. He did all the arrangements for that. He's kind of gone whoosh. He's very, very talented, and he has quite an unusual way of playing piano. And when you watch him play, he's totally, and he's not a diva type of person at all. But when he's playing, you can see he's feeling every minute, And we did it at his studio, actually, out in the country. So, yeah, he's very talented, Simon. Yeah.
I can hear him, especially on the Right About Now song, the Ron Sexsmith song, and you come to the last part and you go a cappella for a second. So you sing, and I'm up here writing this song. And he comes in exactly. There's nowhere else he could have come in correctly. And he bounced off you. He wasn't playing for himself. He was bouncing off you lead. You're the singer. You're leading.
Yeah, well, that's a great piano player, any musician. You got to listen to the singer, Don't get in the way.
Yeah, and the fact that we're gorgeous looking as well helps,
Well, there is that, yes. Yeah, well, I am anyway. Yeah.
You're dead right. Okay, so I wanted to ask you one other thing, and then we did speak about your last album, didn't we? Yeah, in the last interview.
No, we
Let's
didn't.
talk about that. And maybe we can roll in. I know that you have male influences, and I think a proper singer and a proper artist is in touch with both sides of the personality, the masculine and the feminine, and also they take from the opposite sex singers. And you mentioned Marvin Gaye and John Lennon. So if we can roll that into your last album, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, my last album is called Pop Deluxe, and that came out in 2016, and I've been touring it ever since because it's been quite successful, really. It came about because I played Dusty Springfield in a musical called Dusty the Musical. It took them hours to come up with that. And so I did that. And people kept saying to me, when are you going to do a concert of Dusty songs? And I said, oh, God, those are big shoes to fill. You know what I mean? It's like, who am I to think I can go out and sing Dusty Springfield songs? And so I thought, okay, so I booked a few gigs and we did a few gigs and they kept selling out. And I thought, oh my God, people they want to hear those songs, And so there was never any intention to make an album, but we did. But we tried to make it very different from hers. And it became not just Dusty. I was sitting down with a friend of mine who used to be an A&R guy, lovely guy. And he said, well, why don't you not just do Dusty, but do other singers like Petula Clark, Cilla Black, Sandy Shaw? And I thought, yeah, that's a really good idea. Because the problem with there's so many ballads. There's so And I didn't want to do Son of a Preacher Man. I didn't, because it's done to death. And I thought, okay, so I did all those four singers, but I did it with Alistair Gavin, who's the keyboard player, was in the World Stations, who lives up the road, and we work together all the time. And he's a bit of an electronics kind of geek, kind of thing. So we made it, I think, much more contemporary, and we completely changed a lot of the songs. And it was great. It was really interesting. I mean, when we did "You're My World," which is a song that Cilla Black did, it's got these strings in it, so the arrangement is really easily recognizable. And I thought, well, how are we going to make this any good without doing that? We spent days, and then I went round and I said, I've got it. I'm going to do it like a blues. I thought, yeah, that'll work. So it was all that. So but it's interesting because I'm probably more, I mean, I was influenced by Dusty, and I was very much influenced by Diana Ross. I think she's not given enough credit as a singer. She's a really good singer. She doesn't have a powerful voice or anything, but she has a distinctive voice. And I think that's what's important, is to have a distinctive, so that you hear two notes and you know who it is. That's what Amy Winehouse had. That's what Dusty had. All of those singers from back then, and even people that might not be the best singer in the world. Look at Bob Dylan. I mean, you hear him, it's him. Some people would say, unfortunately, but it's. I mean, I love his latest album, though. I think it's great. But I was mainly influenced probably by John Lennon and Paul McCartney, but especially John Lennon, because he was like a soul singer to me. And he was always the one that I would sort of try and sing like or imitate. And of course, Marvin Gaye. And then people like the OJs, the whole Sound of Philadelphia thing was a massive influence, Teddy Pendergrass and all that. So I think that's why I ended up being a soul singer, if you like, soul in the old sense. Because also I went to New York when I was 18, and I became a nanny, and I was there for 2.5 years. And so I would go to clubs. We lived on Long Island. I went to clubs all the time, heard all this great new music. It's the first time I heard Barry White was when I was, it was 1973. I was 18 years old, and I heard Barry White, and I thought, what is this? It was because it hadn't come over here yet, In fact, the first song I heard was Under the Influence of Love by Love Unlimited, who were the three girls that sang with him. He was married to one of them. And if you ever get a chance to listen to Under the Influence of Love, it's like epic. It's like a film,
Yeah.
And I heard it in a club. I made some friends. I went to meet them in this club called St. James Infirmary, which was in North Babylon, I think. on Long Island. And I got there first, and I went and sat at the bar, and this record came on, and I was like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like it. You know, I still play it now. I love it. So, yeah.
I gotta get a copy of that. Okay, guys, thanks for sticking with us for part 1 and 2. We'd no power outages in part 2. Let's see what happens in part 3. Stay tuned.
Driving along, minding my own business, heading east through the Kentucky rain. There on the radio, Johnny Cash was singing. I hurt myself just to see if I still feel pain.